Yeah. Hey, good morning, friends. Good morning, family. So I'm here today with Moyo Balogun. She's a young, beautiful Black woman, as you can see. But she's also smart. She's a lawyer working with the city of London, Ontario, not
Yeah.
London, England. So, Moyo, we're so happy to have you with us today. And I when I spoke with you, and I've spoken to you a fair bit over the past couple weeks, I think, and more so recently. I got to know more about you, and it's so interesting that you're so close yet so far.
Yeah.
And but one of the things that struck me was when you told me about the experience you had with a professor. And it's interesting that you share that story because that would have been a big, big obstacle to any other person. Interestingly, it was more like something that gingered a fire in you, or ignited a fire in you, and you were like, I'm going to prove you wrong. So I'm going to let you share that story. Please introduce yourself to our friends and just um, share your story with us.
Okay. Thank you very much for having me here. I'm very excited to be here. And yeah, my name is Moyo, as you have introduced me. But most people call me Mo. And I'm a lawyer. I'm a Christian first, and I'm also a lawyer who is licensed to practice law in Nigeria and also in the province of Ontario. And I practice specifically civil litigation at the City of London, London, Ontario. I got called to the bar last year September, so I'm going to be 1 year at the bar next month,
Yay.
which is also very exciting. But yeah, about my story, right? So I moved to Canada in 2016, September 2016, and that was immediately I was done at the Nigerian law school. So I finished my last paper. I said, you know what, I'm coming for my master's. There's no time to waste. So I took the next flight the next day, and I came down to Toronto, a new environment, a new culture. It was winter, so it took a while for me to get adjusted to everything, right? But we survived, thank God. I made new friends and all of that. So I started my master's program. That was going very well. And then in the second semester, because the program was for a year, right? So during the second semester, I had to start thinking, what do I want to do? Do I want to go back to Nigeria, or do I want to stay back and practice law, use the knowledge I have gotten from my master's program? I started doing some thinking, and I also wanted to speak. Excuse me.
Yes,
I
yeah.
also wanted to speak with several people that I looked up to, to advise me, right? And so I had sent an email to one of my professors saying that I would like to speak with you. I need some advice. I'm new in this place. I'm not really sure how everything works. I need some advice from you. And
Mhm.
she was like, oh, no problem, that's absolutely fine. So we had our class. I will not say the name the name of the class. So we had our class, and after the class, she sent for me and said, oh, you let's talk about your final paper, right? So we had a conversation about my final paper for the class, and after that she was like, oh, you said you had wanted to see me. And I spoke to her. I'm not really sure about what I want to do. And then she was also asking me about my plans as well. What are your plans? And that was when I said I wasn't sure about what I wanted to do. And so she said, you know what, Moyo, darling, listen, I think it's nice that you have all these plans and you want to write the NT exams and article and take the bar exams, but it is difficult. And, I let her know that, of course, it is difficult, but it is doable. I know so many people who are practicing law. And at the time, I was working as a legal assistant at
Mhm.
Mr. Nice law office, and he had gone through the licensing process. So I said, it's definitely possible, right? And she said, you know what? Yeah, it might be possible, but you're going to get assessed with like probably 10 NCA courses. I was like, no, most Nigerians get assessed with like 5 NCA courses. She was like, yeah, but you're not them. Like, you're different, right? And you might have to write about 10 NCA courses. And listen, those courses are very difficult. And I don't even think you will pass them at once. And
Wow.
about how she also said, think about your friends. All your friends would have graduated. You'd be the only one facing the wall, studying with no friends in a strange land. And she also spoke of, and then she said, it's, let's say you pass the NCA courses, you getting an articling position is so difficult, which, some part of that is true. It is more difficult for internationally trained lawyers to get articling positions, but then again, it is very possible, you know. So,
Absolutely.
so she said that, and she said even Canadian students haven't gotten articling position, not to talk less of someone who is coming from Africa, you know what? And let's say you get an articling position, which I don't think you will get. The bar exam, very impossible to pass, and who is even going to hire you as their lawyer? And I think that was what stopped with me. Like, who is going to hire you?
And you.
You know, who's going to want you to be their lawyer? So that was what stopped for me. And I remember, and basically the conclusion of the conversation was just go back to Africa, right? And
Hmm.
I at first, I hear a lot of people say, "Oh, when these type of things happen, they get fired up," But I won't lie, I wasn't fired up. Like, initially, I wasn't fired up. I was very discouraged, and I just felt,
Absolutely.
yeah, and I felt like that thing she said, just it made me feel very little about myself. I did not
Mhm.
in myself, and I was like, well, she might be right. I don't know. Maybe I should just go home
Mhm.
like that. And that was it, and that stopped me. But I would like to just emphasize the importance of good mentors, right?
Mm.
I shared that story with some of my mentors, and they were like, "No, no, don't you ever believe that." And they built me up and said,
Mm.
no. And I think I even shared that story with Mr. Ainlai as well, because I was just disoriented, and I remember him saying that, and don't listen to her. Like, people will say whatever they want to say. You know where you're going, just keep at it, right?
Mhm.
And that was it. And I also remember reading Michelle Obama's book, Becoming, where she also shared her story about one of her, I think it was a counselor or something, who told her that, like, you can't get into this school. This school isn't meant for people like you, and that just fired her up. So I guess that was the beginning of, that was the beginning for me for wanting to pursue the licensing journey, because after I was built up, I said, you know what, I think she's right. And don't get me wrong, when I started, I failed tremendously. Like, it wasn't as if, I came and I did it boom, 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 and I was like, she was right. I failed several times, and at a point that even reassured, like, what she was saying.
Mhm. Validated her.
Validated her. Like, I was like,
Mhm.
you're right, maybe this thing isn't meant for me, especially the exams and, the whole articling application. I was like, I think she's right. But the key was not giving up.
Up.
And I was having a conversation with you yesterday, and you said, show up and let God. Just show up
Mhm.
and do your part. If I had given up, or if I had said, you know what, I'm like, this isn't meant for me,
Mhm.
there wouldn't even be a story. And I think
Mhm.
that the nice thing about this story is the fact that I failed
Mm.
several, and I didn't let that, stop me, and I just kept going. It wasn't easy. I was discouraged so many times. Did I want to give up? Yes. Did I break down several times? Yes. But,
Mm.
I just, being resilient, just kept at it. And thank God to good mentors and friends, and family members as well. Yes, that's
Mhm.
a summary of the story.
Wow. Well, thanks for sharing that and just being honest and vulnerable. Many people get to a success point and they don't want to ever say, at some point, I failed.
Yeah.
And the reason I do this Facebook, YouTube videos is to encourage anyone who's listening out there. More and more, we're finding out that people of color
Mm.
are stacked with a lot of odds. Not that other people don't feel the odds, but look at you coming all the way from Nigeria to Canada with, ideas to achieve. And a professor who ought to build you up looks at you and says, you can't do it.
Mm-hmm.
It's a waste of time. And even if you go through this process, no one will hire you. And that reminds me of some of the experiences I went through myself when I came to Canada and I was looking for work. I was already a lawyer back home. I was an accomplished banker, but I felt, oh, I'm just going to look for work.
Mm-hmm.
And I was sending resumes everywhere. And someone said, it's better if you use recruiters. And so I approached a couple recruiters. And after a while, one of them who was working with me looked at me and she said, Shino Modupe, what your name? I have such difficulty pronouncing your name. She calls me Modupa, every variant of Modupe she calls me. And after a while, I gave up trying to correct her. But the day she said to me, she said, I think it would be a good idea to change your name. I said, to what? She said, well, I see that one of your name is Juliet. Stick with Julie or Juliet. It's easier to pronounce. And I remember I looked at her straight in the face and I said, thank you very much. But there are so many nationalities around the world with letters, with names that have letters that I can't even begin to pronounce. And yet, you people don't have difficulties pronouncing this. If you call my house as a telemarketer, you will know how to pronounce Modupe. But when I'm looking for work, you tell me to change my name to Julie.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, no, thank you. And that was the day I said, whatever it is, I am going to stick with my name. My name is beautiful and I will stick with that name. And I have stuck with the name ever since. And I insist on that name. And I eventually took the middle name Juliet out of my name because I don't want anyone getting confused and calling me Juliet ever. It's Modupe. Get used to it. I'm here to stay. So thank you. Thank you for sharing the fact that you failed at some point and you have been doing this. So I know you have a YouTube channel, Moyo,
Yeah.
where you have been inspiring and encouraging a lot of young professionals. So
Yeah.
tell us more about that channel and some of the results you have gotten. I know that we talked about those a couple of years back.
No, no worries. So, I'll just start by telling you or telling the people how the YouTube channel came about. If
Yes.
someone had told me that I was going to start a YouTube channel, I would have said you're joking because I always, saw myself as this shy person. Like I don't no, I don't want to do that. But I made a post after I got called to the bar on LinkedIn, and that post went viral. I think it had like 25,000 comments, over 1 million likes, over 1 million people. So it was ridiculous. And I got a lot of questions. My inbox, people were DMing me, asking me questions, and I was like, whoa, whoa. I'm not used to this, like what's going on here? But I realized that there was one thing that stood out from everyone who sent me a message. They said, thank you for sharing your story. You're not
Mm,
the first internationally trained lawyer to get called to the bar. You're not the first, but you are the first outspoken one. Like you're the first one who is talking about how they failed and how
mm,
about the issues that they went through before they got article in, and just talking about the elephant in the room, talking about how
mm,
it's
mm.
just different. Like you said, the odds are against you because you're an internationally trained lawyer. Nobody ever talks about this. So thank you for saying that, and thank you for sharing your story. Now we have so many questions. How do we do this? How do we do that? Some people just needed to be encouraged. Some people I had said, oh, I have failed the bar exams twice. I'm tired. I already gave up. I'm in another
Mm.
profession, or I didn't get articling. I've given up. So I was like, okay, I think this is it. I need to start speaking out. And the YouTube channel is just, I talk about different things. I focus on how to explain the licensing process to internationally trained lawyers because some of them don't even understand the process. They see
Mhm.
Canada as, they see, what's it called, the legal system in Canada as the same, in
Yeah.
Quebec, it's a civil jurisdiction. Ontario, it's a common law jurisdiction, so people don't understand this. So I had to say, okay, let me sit down and explain the process to people.
Mm,
How sometimes you can combine the NCA courses with while you're taking your LLM program. There's the common law LLM program. People don't know about that. You can
mm,
take the NCA courses on your own. Right now they're writing the exams online. People don't know about that. So I said, you know what, I will explain this to them. And while I'm doing that, I will chip in my story as well. So when I'm talking about the NCA, I say, listen, I failed my criminal law exam the first time I wrote it. So don't feel like you need to, if you fail, don't think it's over. It's fine.
mhm,
Trying to do that, and explain some things. And I also talk about some other things as well. Things like settling down in Canada. It's a new country. If you are just immigrating into the country, it's a new
yeah,
system.
yeah,
Culture shocks. Things that when I got into U of T, sometimes my professor wouldn't even understand my accent because I'll say something and they'll say, "Can you please come again? Can you please come again?" And I was like, "Oh, it's so difficult to communicate." And then I stopped talking in class.
ah,
That people wouldn't speak about. But then I understood that, okay, because you have a different accent doesn't make you less. You just speak differently. They also speak differently. Embrace
yeah,
your accent. Learn to pronounce words differently. I'm a lawyer. I speak in court, so I had to just learn how to maybe pronounce my words more clearly, not change my accent. Things like this
mhm,
that people don't really talk about. So I
mhm,
talk about all these things on my YouTube channel, and it's been very helpful to a lot of people. Every single day I get emails. Thank you very much for the work you're doing. And this has even shifted into my place of work as well, because
mhm,
um, I've had comments that a lot of internationally trained lawyers are now applying, for articling positions at the city and another place where they wouldn't have necessarily, thought to apply to. And I've also written some articles about being an ITL, in some newsletters and all of that. And I've had people call me, people who are even lawyers, practicing for years, call me and say, wow, like, thank you. I've been practicing for like 10, 15 years. Nobody has ever,
mhm,
spoken about this. Thank you. I can relate. People who can actually relate
mhm,
thing. It's not like I go for a dinner or a function and then you're the only one standing out because you're the only one who went through the interview process, and everybody's asking you, what law school did you go to? And you're like, I went to law school in Nigeria. And they're like, what? What? Well, we don't get it. And then you have to start explaining and all.
process.
Yes, but it's really been an interesting process. But that's to sum up what my YouTube channel is all about. That's basically it.
Oh, wow. So tell us about your workplace. So what do you do now in the City of London? What do you do for the City of London?
Okay, so I'm a municipal lawyer, but I specifically practice civil litigation. So when when I say that, but people who are not lawyers are like, what does that mean? So I say, you know what, I defend the city. If anyone sues the city, I defend the city. If the city wants to sue anybody, I will do that on behalf of the city. And I have other assignments as well. I the council is also my client. They're also our
Mm,
clients as well. So we attend committee meetings and we provide
mm,
legal advice,
mm,
to councillors
mm,
and Moyo as well. And
mm.
yeah, and another fun thing about it is that during my articling rotation, I went around all the departments. So I had to do civil litigation, real estate, planning, POA. I had to do some areas of law that I didn't necessarily like, but
Okay.
it's good to have the knowledge. And now, my assignment can shift. So today it might not be civil litigation, it might be
Mhm,
law. So that I find very interesting. So it challenges me. I'm not comfortable.
mhm,
It doesn't make me comfortable. Like, okay, I think I know everything there is to know about civil. The next minute it can be real estate, and then I have to learn. And
mhm,
know what exactly it is that I'm doing. So it's a versatile, work environment.
mm.
Yeah.
Yeah. For many of us who might not understand or know, the City of London is not as diverse as Toronto. So there are very few blacks there. I did my master's at the University of Western Ontario, which is in London, Ontario. And I know that going there sometimes I used to like skip out. Like, I was just there and going out for a walk or a run in the mornings because we will stay in the campus over the weekends. Going for a run on most mornings, I could count how many black people I saw, and most times none. So how are you able to thrive in a community where you might be in the only black person in your workplace, especially? So tell us about that. What obstacles have they presented to you?
So the thing is, London is actually becoming more diverse, and when I heard that, I was like, "What? More diverse? Like it's not even, it's not even diverse." But people have told me that, oh, it used to be worse. Like back then, it used to be worse. And I
Yes.
remember when I first came to London, the only time I saw a black person was on Sunday. That was the only other time I saw a black person. In court, I was literally the only black person. And when I went for maybe articling dinners, or like functions, only black person. At work, only black person. So like I literally stood out, and people didn't know my name, but they knew that okay, there's this black lady around. There's always this black lady. And then I will be very truthful. So it bothered me, and that was why I was trying to speak out. Like people apply, come and be in this space. Let's invade this space.
Mm.
Let's have more black people because I've heard so many things. Oh, she's the token, or like she's the this, she's the that, and it doesn't fit right with me. So I'm like, let's let more people invade this space. And at first, it really bothered me because I won't lie, when I stepped into a room, I stood out. I just stood out, and sometimes I wore my Afro wig. I didn't really care. I wore my Afro wig or I wore my Ankara top, and people would like give me the side eye, like like who is this person? But
Mhm.
at least they knew me, and they said, okay, there's this black person here who is like really, who is in our face, always in our face. But now I don't even notice. At first it was okay. Why am I the only one here? But now I don't even notice. When I step into the room or whatever, I don't notice. And more people are starting to to invade the space, which is good. Which is good. Which is very
It's
good.
so good to hear you say that because I've heard that many of the fear that Black people have is the fear of competition. So to hear you say, I want more people to invade
Yeah.
the space you currently occupy is just so refreshing. So I just want to thank you again, Moyo, for coming and sharing your story with us. I know that because of you, many people are applying to articling position, many lawyers.
Yeah.
And just for those of us listening who might not be lawyers, this is not just about lawyers.
Yeah.
It applies to any profession that you're in. And I just want to encourage you, like Moyo has, keep going at it. Do not let one failure stop you in your track because the success story is waiting for you. If Moyo had given up, she would not be the only Black lawyer in the city of London today representing that city.
Mm.
And I know that recently, even people from your workplace were saying, thank you,
Yeah.
because of you, people are applying to these positions.
Yeah.
So we want to thank you, Moyo, for sharing your story. So just before you go, do you have a parting word for anyone who's listening? A word of encouragement, not necessarily lawyers now, but anyone, any young lady who's listening to say, I relate with her, I understand her, and I want to be her. What would you say to that person?
Honestly, it's very simple. It's the title of our talk today, not giving up. Like do not like don't give up, because if you do, you just never know. You just never know what the end could have been, what the end results could have
Yeah.
been. So never give up, and don't let any other person's opinion influence your decision.
Hmm.
So if and another thing is always surround yourself with positive people. So if you are surrounding yourself with negative people who are always telling you can't do it, no, no, no. After a while, you say no, I really can't do it.
Mm,
So don't block out all the negative comments. Yes.
mm.
That's
No.
mhm.
Wow. Thank you so much for that. So, friends, we're grateful to Moyo for coming. But as you all know, I always leave you with one word from scripture before I go. And this week I was in the book of Acts of the Apostles. And as I read the story of the lame man at the beautiful gate, something jumped at me, especially after I had spoken with Moyo. The thing that jumped at me is that his friends carried him to the beautiful gate. His friends carried him. His friends did not give up on him. This man did not give up on himself. So, who are the friends that are carrying you today to the beautiful gate? The beautiful gate could be your next position. It could be the next thing you want to do. It could be your career. It could be school. YouTube channel, Moyo's channel could be that beautiful, that friend who's leading you to that gate. I want to assure you that the lame man was willing, to be carried. His situation as a layman who has been lame from birth was an ugly situation. But his friends carried him to a beautiful situation where he will meet a life-changing result. You know what? His friends were not the ones who received the miracle on that day. This man did. And sometimes all you need to do is show up and let God. Moyo showed up in spite of all the failures she experienced. In spite of a professor telling her, go back to Africa, she kept showing up in spite of being the only Black person in her environment. That is intimidating. Even as an adult, I know how intimidating that can be for me. And so, but she kept showing up. And sometimes that is all you need to do. Show up. Because guess what? If that lame man did not show up on that day, that miracle would never have been his.
Yeah.
But that miracle changed his situation. It was an ugly situation to a beautiful one. And my prayer for you today, I don't know what ugly situation is in your life, but there's a beautiful outcome waiting for you. All you need is show up. Go to Moyo's channel. If you're an internationally trained lawyer, go and check out what the process for being, called to the bar here in Canada is. If you're not a lawyer, look out for resources around you, for people who can build you up. Moyo said, I had mentors. Look for mentors to build you up. Sometimes the friends you have can only do so much to take you to that gate. But you need to begin to speak up. If that man got to the gate and refused to speak up, Peter and John will not notice him. But he was carried to the gate by his friends. His friend did not speak up for him. So where do you need to be speaking up today? Perhaps speaking up in your condition or in your situation could mean asking for help or going to YouTube or any other resources available to you. Till next time we meet again, keep safe. And I pray that your situation turns to a beautiful one. God bless you and have a beautiful week ahead. Thank you, Moyo. Bye now.